Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams, and here's my co-host, Jeffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
Today, we're going to be going over the Thanksgiving Day games. I'm so excited to eat some delicious food and watch some football with the family. So, heads up, the Ravens-Steelers game has been moved from Thanksgiving night to Sunday. Now, I'm happy that we're still going to get this game. They had some issues with COVID, and due to safety, they moved it out a couple of days. So, we're going to start off with the Texans versus the Lions. Let's get it started. All right, in this matchup, we have the Texans versus the Lions. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Houston Texans are traveling to Detroit to face the Lions. The spread is -2.5 Texans. Weather does not factor into this game because the Lions play in a dome. There are a few injuries to discuss. For the Lions, running back DeAndre Swift is questionable to play in this matchup, and wide receiver Kenny Golladay is out. For the Texans, wide receiver Randall Cobb is now on injured reserve.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Now, the last one won't really affect any of you too much. I don't believe any of you are going to be starting Randall Cobb anyways. But the first two, keep your eye out on. Kenny Galladay's already out. It's unfortunate. Great player, but he's not going to be there for this matchup. DeAndre Swift, if he is in, you definitely can play him. But if he's out, obviously you can't. It might move up Adrian Peterson a little bit, but we'll get to that in a second. All right, starting with the home team, the Detroit Lions. Though Matthew Stafford doesn't have a bad matchup, still got a bad taste in my mouth from last week. That was a terrible game. The Houston Texans are bad against the quarterback, but without Kenny Golladay and his other receivers dinged up, it's not the best matchup for him. I'm not saying he's the worst play in the world, but I'm not trying to play him. I have him decently out of my top 12. Next, moving on to the wide receiver position, I do think that you can play Marvin Jones. I think that he's going to be a flex with upside. He's always a big threat, especially in the red zone, so I think you can fire him up. Moving on to the running back position, if DeAndre Swift plays, you play him. If not, Adrian Peterson is a flex play at best. Like I said, Houston's matchup is not too bad, but I'm not too excited about it. Adrian Peterson is kind of what he is at this point. Moving on to the tight end position, they actually do have a good tight end, TJ Hawkinson. I think you fire him up. He's obviously a top 5 tight end. Moving on to the defense, no kicker, no. All right, moving on to the Houston Texans. All right, starting at the top, you're starting Deshaun Watson because he's an absolute beast. Fire him up every week. Next, moving on to the wide receiver position, you're playing Will Fuller. It's a great play this week. The Lions are not good against the wide receiver either, so I think you can fire him up. And I think that you play Randall Cobb as well. Next, you have the running back position. And Duke Johnson, it's a great matchup. Why can't you be more reliable? Deshaun Watson does not seem to want to check down to his running back, and I think that is hurting Duke Johnson. I do think that you could play Duke Johnson as a flex play, but he has not been performing in these last few weeks. All right, moving on to the tight end. No thank you. Defense, no. Kicker, no. All right. Time to pick this game. Like Jeffrey said, 2.5-point favorites, the Texans. I'm going to go with those Texans. I think they handle business against the Lions, who are playing awful. They're dinged up left and right, so I think that the Texans should be able to get a W out of this one. All right, Jeffrey, I think that's enough for this one. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Washington football team versus the Dallas Cowboys. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Washington football team is traveling to Dallas to face the Cowboys. The spread is -2.5 Cowboys. Weather does not factor into this game because the Cowboys play in a dome. There is one major injury to discuss. For the Washington football team, wide receiver Terry McLaurin is questionable to play in this matchup due to an ankle injury.
Yikes. Terry McLaurin has been the bright spot, or one of 3 bright spots, I guess, in the Washington football team's lineup. I hope he plays. We'll get to him in a minute. All right, we're going to start off with the home team. Dallas Cowboys. Starting at the top, I'm not starting Andy Dalton. I do think that he is an upgrade for the other quarterbacks, but I don't think that he's going to be good in your lineup, so no thank you. Wide receivers. Amari Cooper, I think that you can fire him up as a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end flex play. I think CD Lamb is also going to be in play here as a flex play, and I'm not touching Michael Gallup. No, thank you. Moving on to the running back position, I think you can start Ezekiel Elliott. Washington has a solid pass rush, but you're going to have a hard time finding running backs that are going to get more volume than Ezekiel Elliott. Tight ends, Dalton Schultz, if you're desperate, I think you could play him as well. No to the defense, no to the kicker. All right, moving on to the Washington football team. Starting at the top, I'm very pleased that Alex Smith is in the league, but he's not in your lineup. Moving on to the wide receiver, if Terry McLaurin can play, I think you fire him up. If not, I guess you could look at Sims, but I'm really not trying to play anybody else in this matchup at wide receiver. Next, we have the running back position. You can play both running backs in this matchup. J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson, I think, can fall in that running back 1 category, and I'm going to put D.J. McKissick in the flex with upside, because if they do get down a lot, I do think that they will throw the ball to D.J. McKissick a lot. So I think that he has some upside, assuming that they get down, which they probably will. Next, we have the tight end position, and Logan Thomas, if you're desperate, I think is another viable play. He's getting on the field a lot, and he always has a threat to get a touchdown. Next, we have the defense, and I think the defense is playable in this matchup. They have one of the best defenses against wide receivers, and their pass rush is pretty solid. They should be able to take down Andy Dalton a few times. So I think you fire him up, and no thank you to the kicker. All right, moving on to the picks. Got to pick between these two. 2.5 point spread. Cowboys win. I'm going to go with those Cowboys. I think that the Cowboys can win this game. This is a terrible division, but somehow they're all in the running with less than 6 wins. It's absolutely incredible. But I think that the Dallas Cowboys can do it at home. All right, and I think that's going to do it for this one. Let me know what you think. Who did I get right? Who did I get wrong? Who should be starting? Who should be sitting? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving with your family. Be safe, be careful, and eat up. I think that's going to do it for me. Good luck in your matchups, Bay Nation. Peace.